And the beat goes on, and the beat goes on and on. That's what this pandemic's beginning to feel like now, isn't it? It's just going on and on and on. But you know what? The longer it goes on, the more I find things to amuse myself. It's not worth spending time on all the bad stuff. And many people that I know have started to not watch the news and not watch the news outlets and not read the newspapers, because somehow I always see it as a bit of a neuro-linguistic programming exercise in which if you're told how awful everything is, excuse me, then you start to believe it. So let's focus the next week on how good things can be. I'm not saying things are now, because everybody has a different story to tell, but how things can be and how things will be eventually, because one day this will all be over and we'll sit there and go, why didn't I do that while I had the time to do it? I'm trying not to do that. So it's getting up this morning. I've baked a cake, you know, one of those school dinner type cakes with the sprinkles on top for my son. I've made the lunches and I'm thinking about dinner and getting everything in place so that I can settle down and get in a good day's work, finding out information to help you guys. So now let's talk education. And let's talk about the thing that I think has bothered many parents, and that is my child missing out? Is my child actually sliding backwards while schools are closed? Well, the answer is maybe. It depends on the facilities that you have at home, and it depends on how things are organised. Because, first of all, let's address how progress is measured in schools. In schools, progress is measured by a computer. The data that is taken is the data that comes from their Year 6 exams. You know, the SATs exams, when they are considered whether they're meeting expectations at age 11. I have views on what expectations actually means, because expectations are based on a norm that's been created across a population which is increasingly diverse, and a population which includes many different abilities, many different skills. But whether or not they're meeting expectations is what is used to measure progress. And that result from that test is what is used to say where they should be at each year and at the end of each academic year. So if they're not at where they should be at the end of that academic year, according to the computer, then in reality, it's been said that they're not making much progress. I tend to disagree with that. I think progress comes from how happy they are to keep learning. Because I certainly know from personal experience, and that's my own personal experience, that what I was doing in year 6 had little bearing on what my abilities were in year 11, because I had such a home life that was so chaotic that the two could not possibly have been linked. So what I'd like us to think about this week is, what is progress? Is your child actually waking up happy to learn something new every day? Is your child actually pulling away from the learning process, or is there signs of them actually being more enthusiastic, wanting to challenge themselves more? that would be progress, because that is a brain that is wide awake and receptive to more stimuli. Right, stimuli that you are there to encourage them to take on board. We have a problem, of course, when there is a withdrawal from the process, where children actually start looking at other ways of amusing themselves, or just want to watch TV, or just want to play games or go outside a lot. And in that case, we have to think about ways of motivating them towards their learning. Don't get me wrong, I am a big advocate of outdoor learning. Learning outside the classroom is very impactful on a child's brain, because ultimately education means an enlightening process, a process which enlightens that child and shows them different ways of doing things. That is a very, very precise definition of education, an enlightening process. If going outside is what brings your child to life, then that is what they should be doing. But you know they're progressing when they want to look up more information and research and build their minds when they come back in again, because they will need to. So what we're considering is, how can we know whether our children are making progress? Progress is made when they want to know more. That is the simple, realistic view. When they want to know more, when they're taking on more, when they're asking more questions, when they're trying to build their interests. When they're sitting not wanting to do much, then we need to take a step back, think about motivation. If you remember, last week's episode was on motivational techniques. And then we step forward again and try again for progress. Is ultimately, you have to get in touch with what your child is actually enjoying. If you're enjoying this, if this is helping you and you'd like to help your friends, why not like, share, subscribe, share the love. I'm here every Wednesday at 7 p.m, ready to impart a little bit more advice, help you where I can, and because this education process can be a little bit involved, can't it? So let's talk a bit about how we can motivate a child through home learning. I call this a home learning hack. And I went through it last week, and I'll go through it again, because it's an important one, and it's one that many parents don't actually realise is possible. When your child gets online learning, it's presented to you in one form. Not every child learns in the same way, and therefore you could have quick read through and reimagine the way that it's delivered. Reimagine the way that your child will learn it, because you know your child better than anybody else, and teach it to them that way. It might be in the form of an experiment. It might be in the form of a piece of research, but you know how to engage your child in that piece of learning. Don't think they have to be sat at a desk, they have to be staring at a screen, they have to be ready on a Zoom call. What really, really matters more than anything else is that you take the exercise that has been given, and if necessary, feel free to reimagine it and watch your child go. Watch them take over, show new vigour, and really want to take this on, because it looks more like what they're interested in, rather than just looking like another learning exercise. And this is really important, especially for the little ones, because their attention span is a lot smaller, so they need things like that, in which things are reimagined and a lot more tactile and a lot more interactive for them to really spark their little imaginations, or rather big imaginations with most young kids. With the older ones, ask them to teach you, ask them to show you how to do things, because they do love to know what you don't know. So it's always nice when they teach you. So that might be another way of reimagining. But for heaven's sake, do not feel that you have to take your day to teach. You're not teachers, okay? You are parents, first and foremost, and therefore just reimagine it. That's what teachers do anyway. Build their independence. Give them something that's going to take them a little while to do. And while they're doing it, you go off and do what you need to do. Yes, you will still be in the house. We are in coronavirus times. But you are giving them vital life skills. Now, I'm happy to discuss this and any other hack that you're thinking about if you get in contact with me. Free, no obligation, jgeducate.com. And as I said before, if you like what you're hearing and you like the opportunity to discuss free, then why not like, share and subscribe and get your friends involved. And you know, you might have questions that you want to come back and discuss with me as a group. Let me know. In the meantime, I know that's been quite a lot to get taken today, but in the meantime, have a lovely week. Enjoy. I know it's cold and wet and windy and miserable, but while there's life, there's hope. So enjoy, folks, and I will see you next week.